What is at stake in the current Zambian elections? Are the Zambian elections likely to be free and fair? And what prompted the introduction of the 50% plus one threshold for winning the presidential vote? And is the current poor state of the economy likely to determine voting patterns? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Michael Sata. The presidential elections and the controversial Zambian National Referendum kicked off today. The polls come just over a year after current leader Edgar Lungu was elected early in 2015 following the death of Michael Sata in 2014. The late Sata became the second Zambian sitting president to die in office after Levy Mwanawasa passed on in 2008. 9 political parties are running for the presidential vote. The incumbent Edgar Lungu of the governing Patriotic Front and Hakainde Hichilema from the opposition United Party for National Development are the frontrunners. Zambia is commended for political stability, and the power handover there has largely been peaceful. Alleged pre-election violence as well as the banning of a popular newspaper, The Post, have put the spotlight on the country's ability to hold a free and fair election. We are live and you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210. If you are calling us from outside the borders, 0027-8911-4210. Our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. My guest today is Isaac Homu. He's a producer at Spotlight Africa on Channel Africa, our sister channel on the radio medium there. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, Zambian elections coming, a week or so after South Africa's local government elections. Was there, and I just want us to start it here. Was there, do you think, any point of reference for Zambia in as far as our elections are concerned?
Well, these are national elections, ours was the local government.
Yeah.
But the Zambian elections have been very interesting because, the build-up to Zambian elections for the last 3 months, 4 months, there are new things which have came up. For the first time you find that there was violence in the street, real violence. The opposition, the different parties actually formed militias. And for the first time, there was regional talk, people talking about regionalism. And people were asking ourselves, now where is the Zambian motto of one Zambia, one nation? As if it was cracking up.
Yeah.
But it appears that Zambian elections this time is actually it's got a lot of interest amongst the Zambians.
Okay.
For a long time, Zambian elections, there was to be a lot of voter apathy.
Yeah. Yep. Well, HH promises to rescue the country from its economic challenges, he says.
Hichilema.
Yeah.
Hakainde Hichilema is the opposition man. He says he's going to actually rescue the country from its economic problems. But that has been the call from all elections for the last, 4 or 5 elections.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with African countries. Basically, Zambia is actually suffering from economic problems. But unfortunately, these economic problems, they came about with the structural adjustment programs, where the Zambian government was actually forced under Chiluba, in fact under Kaunda, they were forced to nationalize the mining industry. And also come into the market economy, free market economy policies, a lot of reforms. But the end result, like most African countries, is that growth or the advantages have not trickled down to the people. Now the sad thing is this, that the politics of Zambia, the policies of Zambia, they're set by these conditionalities of the IMF and the Bretton Woods Institution. So different political parties, they cannot come up with different policies Yeah, so now people are just sort of criticizing each other about corruption and making the economy better.
Yeah.
But that's the sad thing about African economies. The policies, they've been set. The economic and political policies. The political policies are free market, economic, globalization. And it's not working for Africa.
Well, I've had the opportunity to talk to HH right here on this show before, and he came across as somebody who's quite experienced and wealthy as well.
Yeah, he's a businessman.
Yeah.
He's an economist. He's an economist, he's a businessman, and he's a very big talker. He's very eloquent. Let me just talk about a big talker. He's very eloquent. But you've got to be very careful when he talks, because when he talks, you find that he's talking about bettering the economy, but he's not coming with any new ideas. Okay. So you find the people on the ground, they're talking about the government favoring foreigners. When they say the government is favoring foreigners, they're really talking about the economic sphere, whereby the investors, they've got a leeway. There's too much leeway, and they are the people who are actually sort of benefiting. Yeah. And the Zambian economy is based upon copper. And that copper sector, it was liberalized. The people who came in are the Chinese and the Indians. Yeah. And with the liberalization, there was a lot of leeway given to these companies to a point that there's a lot of chicanery taking place, tax evasion, yeah, and things like illegal, or we'll say, capital flight. And that's the issue, which basically is the talking point of the Zambian nation.
Hold it there. Our colleague Sophie Mkwena is in Zambia, and she joins us on the line. Sophie, welcome to Question Time. Perhaps just give us the latest. What does it look like? Is it going the Lungu, the Edgar way, or the HH way?
It's too close to call. It's not clear yet whether it will be the current president, Edgar Lungu, or Hichilema. But what we have picked up is that the current president enjoys support from the countryside, while the opposition leader support in the urban area. And you recall that when you look at the trends in the SADC regions these days, you'll find that the sitting president always gets support from rural votes, but you'll find that the challenger or the opposition leader will always get support from the urban area. Therefore, it's not clear who is going to win this one. And the process is quite complicated because you have 5 ballot papers, one for presidential, the second one for parliamentary seats, the third one for executive mayor. They include the local government elections, the fourth one for the council or the ward council. And of course, they have to take a decision whether to include the current Bill of Rights proposal into the current constitution. Therefore, you also have the referendum, the ballot for the referendum. So it's a complicated process. It's going to take time.
But the turnout, Sophie, how was it?
Well, the turnout was quite good. Many Zambians took to the polls, and they went out in large numbers, both in the urban area and also in the countryside, because of these issues. I mean, electing a president, but also deciding on who will represent different parties in parliament, but also the mayors and the ward councillors, and of course a decision whether the new constitution should include the Bill of Rights. Therefore, I think Zambians understood very well that they have to decide on these matters, and of course these are very important matters. Because for that reason, when we look around, when we were driving around, the turnout was quite good. But we will get a briefing later on around 8 o'clock tonight from the Electoral Commission here to give us an update in terms of voter turnout, and perhaps the challenges they face, or perhaps what they have achieved, and also to give an indication when can we expect a preliminary result. But we expect a small batch of results to be announced later tonight.
Sophie Mkwena there joining us from Zambia. Thank you very much. Itumeleng, you're on the line. Welcome.
Thank you, Mpo.
Yeah.
You know what, Mpo, the question that I wanted to ask.
Yes.
I wish Land First and Black First Party was there, but maybe your guest can assist. You see, the politics of South Africa, there are people who always want land for black people. So in Zambia and like Zimbabwe and other Southern African countries, majority there it's black people, and then it seems, I'm not sure, it seems like they own the land.
Okay.
But are they rich? Are they wealthy because of they own the land, or I don't know? Because of in South Africa, it's like there's this thing that if we own the land, we'll all be rich and all be wealthy. Thank you very much.
Milling, thank you very much. Well, fortunately, we've got somebody who has spent a lot of time in those countries.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, to say that the last, when you talk about the land, is interesting. And also, Mamukwe, when she talked about the urban areas and the rural areas. Zambia is a very funny country. Zambia, together with South Africa, it's one of few African countries where the majority of people are urbanized. And that's basically, it's a scandal when it comes to a place like Zambia. Yeah, the thing is over 50% of Zambians are urbanized, and there's not many Zambians in the rural areas. That's why you find that urban poverty is very high.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing about Zambia, Zambia again is unique because it's one of the few African countries where land ownership, the bigger part of Zambian land, is in the hands of the chiefs, not in the hands of the state.
Okay.
Yeah. And people would expect that with the chiefs owning the land, there would be a lot of productivity from the land. But unfortunately, the sad thing that Zambia is a country, one of several countries in Africa where there is a very big case of land grab and mismanagement of that communal land by the chiefs. Yeah, it's come to a point that the chiefs are actually giving away land to foreign investors for a song.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a very big issue in Zambia. Yeah, and the chiefs, land being in the hands of the chiefs, there's not much invested in development of the land.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the Zambian food comes from Malawi, where the rural-based agriculture is very well developed. The Zambians have failed to develop that. They're relying on the copper industry, which has actually stagnated with the stagnation of the Chinese demand for commodities. Zambia has been hit very much.
Okay, hold it there. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion, and indeed you can give us a call, 089-110-4210. If you're in Zambia or elsewhere outside the borders, 002789-110-4210.
Do you need a funeral policy?
Joy is found in the little things.
Ke ho phedisa, ho fepa le ho hodisa.
Ukuba ibone ukuvela kwethuba lalokho okungenzeka.
In being there when one journey ends and another begins.
En die deel van die klein dingetjies wat kosbare herinneringe word.
Life is the gift of growing new memories each day.
So that our loved ones can preserve them after we are no longer here.
Life is a gift to us.
Since 1918, AFBOB has comforted and supported South African families in their time of need.
Protecting their loved ones' memories with respect and dignity.
Plus, committed and trusted funeral representatives
With more than 250 branches nationwide.
There for you every hour of every day.
AFBOB provides a complete funeral service solution for everyone, even if you're not an AFBOB policyholder.
Make sure your family comes first. Always. AFBOB, we're here for you.
If you would like AFBOB to call you about a new policy, SMS family and your name to 41790.
It's Macro's 45th Big Birthday Bash, and our gift to you is big savings. Get 10 litres Dulux Luxurious Silk White Paint for only $4.99, save 500 Rand. Or the Campmaster Cabin 910 plus side panels, now only $2,999, save 1,200 Rand. And save 40 Rand on Ultra Image A4 office paper, now only $189. Get these and many other great deals in store and online with Macro's Big Birthday Bash. Macro, big on life.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is Akhomu. He is the producer at Spotlight Africa on our radio sister channel, the Channel Africa. And the number to dial is 0891104210. At Question Time 24 is our Twitter handle. Let's look at, it is said that each successive Zambian president has served a shorter term than his predecessor. So, the founding president, right, Kenneth Kaunda, was in power for 27 years and 9 days. Right, he's followed by Frederick Chiluba, who was in power for 10 years and 61 days. And then Levy Mwanawasa was in power for 6 years and 230 days. Rupia Banda was in power for 3 years and 86 days. And Michael Sata was in power for 3 years and 35 days. Well, I'm not suggesting that the next president is going to serve even shorter, but you've got indeed a very interesting trend in Zambian politics, which I want us to just talk about, which is defection.
Well, defections, let's look at the Zambian politics from the time of Kaunda with the UNI party.
Yeah.
Now, the UNI party, it suffered when Kaunda actually was ceded to the structural adjustment program. And that actually brought in a very big inflation in all African countries. And again, there was pressure for multi-party democracy. So basically, Kaunda's popularity fell. And the MMD of Chiluba came in. And they swept. They took over power. And when they took over power, they were still scared of Kaunda, so they had a constitutional amendment where they said that people who could fight for presidency were people whose parents were born in, who were Zambians.
Yes.
Kaunda's parents are Malawians.
Yeah.
Both his mother and father. So he has been barred from actually being a president again. He could have done so. But then you find that Chiluba did his 2 terms,
Yes.
And from Chiluba, he messed up the economy, that's flat out, and gave away the mining industries for a song. It's scandalous. But in comes Mwanawasa, who tried to recoup the Zambian might and also element of to fight corruption. But unfortunately, he did not finish his 2 terms. He died in office. After Mwanawasa, we had Rupia Banda, and I think the same thing happened. He did not finish his things. And also Michael Sata. So basically, that is what happened. But then coming to the political parties, the MMD, it actually split after Chiluba. Chiluba was actually a failure. From there, you find that it's all parties which are there, opposition parties. They actually came from the MMD. And unfortunately, they started having an element of regionalism in them, where the people started following regional leaders. Unlike in the time of Kaunda, where Kaunda was a central man,
nationalist,
brought the Zambians together. He was a real nationalist.
Yeah. But now, does HH really stand a chance? I mean, this is his, 6th attempt at presidency?
Well, it stands a chance. As Sophie Mukwena said that there's a lot of people who've come out in the urban areas. And as I said again, that the majority of Zambians are in the urban areas. And again, people in the urban areas throughout the world are the most radical people when it comes to politics. Because as workers or as proletariats, they do not have any other means of sustenance or living, or working a living, other than selling their labor. And when things go wrong, they become very, very radical. And that's where HH is having support. You find that HH is having support in the youth in the urban areas, who are the majority of Zambians. So there's a way that he could actually sort of outsit the President Lungu.
Do you see Lungu just giving up like that? Well, Zambia doesn't have a history of, revolts.
Zambia is a very peaceful country. Zambians are very peaceful people, like Malawians. They will never revolt. Yeah, they are people who are jocular and they talk. They are big talkers. Lungu, if there's a change of government, he's going to give up. I mean, to say Kaunda did it, it's in their culture. Yeah, it's in the culture of the agriculturists. As Africans, Bantu Africans, those who are basically agriculturists, they're very democratic and they do not go to violence. The ones who are violent are where you find pastoralism or sedentary, like in Kenya, they're mostly pastoralists. Somali, pastoralists. Ethiopia, pastoralists. South Africa, we are pastoralists. Yeah, and that's why you find that there's that element of violence. But with agriculturists, they're very peaceful people.
But there was violence.
There was violence which was actually stemming in the streets. It was not violence as such. It was just gangs of youth who were just sort of throwing stones at each other. And there were rumors and there were talks of people forming militias, but it never came to violence as you'd find it in Kenya. Yeah, if you want to talk of electoral violence, post and pre-election violence, you take a country like Kenya or what is happening in Ethiopia right now. Yeah, those are pastoralists. When they stand their ground violently. Yeah. That will never take place in Zambia. Media freedom, I mean, there were issues around that. Zambia's got a lot of media freedom. In fact, the Zambians, the way they talk, they talk a lot. There's nobody who can actually sort of say that. In fact, they overdo it at times. Yeah, that's why you find that there are many cases of defamation in the government. They call their presidents the Cobra man. That was Banda, Yes. Banda was called the Cobra because he had a sharp tongue. Okay. Yeah, the Zambians, they're the big talkers.
So you don't think this accusations of alleged media restrictions do hold water?
No, I don't think so. There could be basically there's nothing actually to hold back. Media freedom is there in Zambia. Basically, when they hold back, it would be most to restrain the people from insulting other people. That's the problem with Zambians. They've got a sharp tongue.
Let's look at the fact that, the economy hasn't been doing very well. You've got the government now seeking the IMF to bail it out from its rising debt.
Oh, yes. I mean, that's a failure of neoliberal policies, economic policies. Yeah. And there's even talk of actually sort of people going back to renationalize the mines. But again, they've got to actually sort of diversify the economy. That economy is actually dependent upon copper. And there was a copper boom when the Chinese came in and the Indians. But then that has collapsed. Zambia has failed to diversify its economy and it has failed to develop its agriculture, which has got to be small scale agriculture to absorb the people, to hold the people on the land. That has not taken place. Instead, they've gone into getting in foreign investors to giving them huge chunks of land. And these foreign investors, basically, they're not there to develop the agriculture. The initial lot are just speculators, land speculators. Okay. Yeah.
But does Zambia stand a chance of becoming a big role player in the politics of SADC, African Union?
They're a role player, but unfortunately, due to the weak leadership that the Zambians have got, they have not played a very important part. I mean, old man Kenneth Kaunda, he played a very important part in the politics of the Southern Africa towards with its liberation. But there's nobody who could come and actually fit his shoes. Mwanawasa came, but Mwanawasa was a big Christian. Yeah, he came there with moral issues, a moral rearmament. Yeah. But when it comes to actually coming up with very big policies to solve Africa's problems, I don't think Zambia has produced any big leader. Okay. In fact, they even failed to produce leaders to lead the Zambians away from this slut, I mean to say that depression, economic depression.
Dr. Hom, thank you very much for the time, and we really wish those people of Zambia the best of luck with their elections and the referendum. That was Question Time for today. A big thank you to my guest and to you for watching the show. From me and the crew, you have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.